This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
And welcome back, everyone. Relationships so important to all of us. We crave that connection in all different ways. Hanging with friends, hanging with your partner. A lot of it centers on trust. You can't have a true, deeper relationship without trust. Now, let's add something else in there, depending on the type of relationship, intimacy. We're going to talk about both of those today and what happens when maybe one of those goes away in your relationship. How do we bring that back? How do we make it stronger? She's a certified relationship coach and offers much insight that we can understand. She's Tiffany Aquino. She's back with us. How you doing today?
Hello, Steve. I'm good. Thank you very much. How are you?
Fantastic. And really looking forward to digging into this because you don't hear a lot of things about intimacy. And certainly you can't have intimacy without trust. It's just not going to happen, right?
Absolutely. Yes, you got it. So, trust and intimacy are the forms the foundation for a deeper connected bond in your relationship. So, with trust, of course, it's something that we talked a little bit about last week when we discussed emotional needs. So, when we have trust in a relationship, that allows us to be seen because everybody wants to be seen, valued, and heard, right? And that's all within that trust aspect. And, you know, in order to feel trusted or to offer trust, kind of, it's kind of in small pieces and in small moments throughout that relationship. It's just not one big grand aha moment to form that loyalty with that person and that trust. So it's knowing that you can be yourself with a mask off and knowing that you're not going to be judged
Mm.
and offering that same energy to that person, allowing them to take that mask off and for them to be themselves as well.
Let's focus on the word intimacy for a moment.
Okay.
We have a vision of what that may be
Yep.
on the physical aspect, but
Yes.
that's not just what we're talking about, right?
Correct. Yes. And most people think that, yes, when they hear the word intimacy, immediately, they think of the physical side of that. And true, yes, there's that physical side. Also within that physical side too, there are smaller forms of physical intimacy as well. It just doesn't mean, um, you know, sex or lovemaking or having that deep connection and physical intimacy. There are smaller physical actions that lead up to that. They're even more beautiful. But within that, there are three other layers. So you've got so the four layers of intimacy are you've got the emotional intimacy, which I is absolutely beautiful. So all of this builds into when the physical intimacy actually it makes it all the better, right? So you have emotional intimacy, you have intellectual or mental intimacy, you have spiritual, and then you have the physical. So of course, like anything else with the emotional intimacy, and we talked about last week, is that creates that emotional bond. And again, I mentioned last week as well when we want to discuss affairs that the emotional affair is the deepest and I would say most dangerous affair to have because you've created that bond, that heart to heart connection with them. And in that, it's because of the trust. Two people have decided to open up because they've trusted each other and they shared a lot with each other in regards to that. So there's that trust that's there, that emotional connection that's there. And then the intellectual or the mental intimacy, that's some kind of sharing ideas, your dreams, your fears, right? And the spiritual, your values, your faith, your dreams, again. And then again, of course, the physical.
You know, those three layers that you mentioned, people don't talk about that, first of all.
Yeah,
But when you peel them back, if you will, with a microscope with a spotlight on them, it's not often you can check all three of those boxes.
correct. Absolutely. So, that being said, I think it's very important that we are very intentional, aware, and conscious throughout our relationships, whether it be, if it's a girlfriend, boyfriend, fiance, or marriage. But Unfortunately, I think that's a big reason as to why marriage is, the divorce rate is so high, right? We just kind of go into our day to day
Mm,
and not thinking about, the deeper side of it, right? We're roommates instead of, being truly a married couple, and being intentional, being fully present with each other. And when I say present, I don't mean just physically present, right? Putting the phone down, really listening instead of, having to defend yourself for whatever reason. Listen to what they have to say, leave the ego at the door, and show a little bit of humility.
mm.
So, yeah, I
I don't
think.
know if I shared this last time or the time before we got together, but there was a study that came out and it said exactly what you did, in that if you want to have a true solid relationship, you just need to do this one thing every single day.
Uh-huh.
What is that one thing? Again, based on studies and research, that one thing is listen for 60 seconds. Actually be there, be present, phone down, focused on 60 blanking seconds. That's
Yeah.
it. And of course, there's other things you can do, but that is the
Sure.
biggest one right there.
Oh, that's huge. 60 seconds is kind of a long time, right? If you really think about it.
Well, when
And it's
you're in it,
being
let's say,
intentional.
right, if you're in it, and it's ridiculous that we're even saying this, but like when you're in a, let's say, a marriage, family, kids,
Hmm.
side hustles, blah, 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 all of that going on. You're walking through the door. Hey, how's it going? Ah, it's doing all right. Yeah.
Right.
Did you give 60 seconds of undivided, focused, listening, present, intentional attention?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't think many
And
people can say yes. Oh,
no,
yeah, I do, do.
right. And I think a lot of people think too that, yeah, I'm present, I'm in the same house. But with my own personal experience being married, I was married for 13 years, and we were in the same home, but we weren't really fully present for each other. There
Mm,
was just a lot of passing by, or, just life going on, taking care of the kids. And so I think a lot of couples think that because they're married, because they're sleeping in the same bed, because they're parenting, they're living in the same, they have the same address, that, they're present with each
mhm,
other. And that's not necessarily the case. A lot of times it's not the case. They could be in the same car going to the same athletic event and just not present with each other at all. So I think if we can just kind of focus on that one thing, realize, am I being present right now, or is this person being present right now, and be intentional. Being
mm.
intentional is so important. Being present and being intentional and really taking action into that, and not just looking at the other person, but looking at yourself too. Like, what am I doing that's not enough? Right.
I'm going to say this, and this is my my view and journey. It ultimately, in that partnership, call it a marriage,
Uh-huh.
is and just let me explain it before, if people throw things at me.
Okay.
It turns into business.
Oh
It's
gosh, yeah.
it's business. Where am I going with that? The business of, hey, we're going to, Mandy's cheerleading practice. We're both in the car. She's in the back. We're driving. What are we doing? We're talking about, yeah, all right, well, that's at 4:30. Then we got to hit up this thing at 6 p.m. Got to get the
Right.
kids something to eat, then home again. What time are you taking them tomorrow? Oh, yeah. Hey, don't forget, they're going to close the pool tomorrow. That's at
Right.
11:35. Make sure you have the Venmo so you can take care of that. And blah, 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 rinse and repeat every day. And sadly,
Yeah.
after that business is over, i.e.,
Yeah.
divorce, what is it? What are you left with?
You don't know them.
No, you're left with more business because now it's
Oh,
assets and you have to, now it's a business agreement that you're
yeah.
dissolving. It's
Right.
business. And it comes down to the one thing that you're saying here today. It's
Hmm.
in being intentional. And I know that word is thrown around a lot, but really being present and giving. Yeah. And we have the monkey minds. We're always,
Oh
even when you're
gosh, yes.
42 seconds into the conversation with your partner,
Absolutely.
if you made it that long and you're listening, what are you
Right.
thinking of? Oh, what's on TV tonight? Hey, got to watch the next episode of Tulsa.
Right.
You're not there. And if you
Right.
did that every single day,
Yes.
things might be
Yes.
different.
Absolutely. I think a lot of people, and you mentioned this last week as well, we talk about it all the time, and we hear it's not cliche when we say that marriage is work, right? Just because we said the marriage vows or just because we're married and we signed the marriage license doesn't mean that, hey, I did my part, everything's fine, and we just live under the same roof now, and we raise kids and have dinner at the same table. It's work every single day,
Yeah.
right? And which is why love is a choice and it's not a feeling. So it takes being intentional. And so I would say that in regard to what you just mentioned, um, again, being intentional, have at least a once a week. I don't want to use the word meeting because that sounds kind of a little rich, but it is. If you love your marriage and your family and your spouse enough, have a conversation with each other and say, hey, let's do this thing once a week where we just focus, excuse me, on ourselves, and let's have at least a 20-minute conversation at least and talk about us. Let's just talk about us.
Hmm.
Close the door, put the phones down after the kids go to bed. We have nothing going on, and or even right before we go to bed. And maybe this conversation will make bedtime even better. But just talk about us for 20 minutes. What's going on in your life that I don't know about? What's going on in my life that I haven't told you about? Okay, what's working for us and what's not working for us? Is there anything that you want to talk about? What can we make stronger? What do you feel that's weak? Whatever it is, share the intimacy pieces with me, sweetheart. Let's have that conversation.
Hmm.
What are the emotional, intellectual, spiritual, and physical layers here that we can tap into? And I think that conversation at least once a week will make such a beautiful bond. And I don't think enough marriages are being intentional with each other.
1 billion%.
Yeah.
And even if you do date night once a month, twice a month,
Right.
that's great.
Right.
But are you really being intentional in that, or are you just taking care of business? And I'm
Right.
go- I'm gonna continue riffing on the business word.
Yeah.
Even when you're intimate, um,
Go
that
ahead.
can also turn into just taking care of business, called maintenance
Yep.
sex, whatever it is, like,
Yes.
and
Yes.
yeah, it's
And
okay to some point, but then after a while, it's just
right.
robotic.
Absolutely. And that kind of is a little bit of what we talked about last week, our emotional needs. Right. So one word, and I say this all the time, is communication in our relationship. It is the absolute best ingredient for any relationship, especially in a marriage. Just communicate. And it doesn't mean you're, nagging all the time. It's just taking the time to say, hey, honey, this is a need of mine that's not being fulfilled, even if it's in the bedroom. Say, hey, I love you. I love when we're, in our intimate moments physically, but there's something that's been going on for quite some time and I haven't said anything. Quite honestly, I believe that men love it. They want to know. Same with a woman. They want to know, what am I doing to please you? What am I not doing to please you? Tell me what it is so I can fix it and make it better for you. They want to do that. They really do want to do that for each other. So all we have to do is, because we're afraid to open up or we feel like we're going to, hurt their feelings, or it's just fine. That'll eventually build resentment and it'll make, the marriage or the relationship kind of just go, um, being swept under the rug. It's always important to open up and to discuss our emotional needs, and because we trust the other person. So, it's work. So communicate that.
Well, I bet you a lot of couples think that, yeah, well, we do communicate, we talk, but are you intentionally communicating, or are you just kind of, talking a little bit, and maybe you go a little deeper than maybe another couple may, but are you really, really going deep? And not that this has to be all serious. And then
Sure.
onto the physical aspect, I would think start out with a positive and
Uh-huh.
use the I statement as opposed to the you statement. You never
Right.
do this, or you don't know. I would really like if, I think that's where it goes wrong if we forget to do that.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Yes. Um, that we have to show care and concern, right? For who we're talking to. This is our spouse, and it's all about love and respect, and
Mm,
respecting each other, respecting yourself, and respecting your marriage, and how we speak to each other is very important. And a lot of times we hurt the people that we love most, right? We hear that all the time, and it's because we take advantage of it and we take it for granted, and we just think, oh, well, they're always going to be there. Um, but it doesn't, we can't abuse the relationship or take it for granted. We truly do have to be careful of how we come across. We don't, obviously, we're not going to be perfect, but be respectful. How would you like to perceive that same information from them as well, right?
you said this word twice, so let's go on this.
Okay.
Respect.
Yep.
So when that a piece of that has left for whatever it is, or it's eroded over time,
Uh-huh.
many different reasons why it may, how do you bring that back?
Correct. I was actually going to ask you this question. That's a great question.
Well, now I gave it to you, so now it's on you.
So, how I was going to word it is, when you were in a relationship and the trust was broken, did you rebuild it, and how did you go about rebuilding that? Right. And I would say the same thing. My answer would be this. My answer to this would be the same thing into your answer, which would be, first of all, is a choice, right? And what's this relationship look like? Where are we at right now? And it's the small moments. It's the day-to-day small moments where, hey, I was hurt by the situation that happened, and be completely vulnerable and communicate everything. We're rebuilding our trust. And in order for me to rebuild this trust, there needs to be some reassurance, and probably a little bit more reassurance in the beginning, until I see a couple of things. Your words and your actions align with consistency. So that, right there is a good foundation of knowing that, you have trust in the relationship when you see words and actions align with consistency. When you have inconsistency in a relationship, then that starts to erode that trust and that
Mm.
emotional connection.
Ooh. Um, which is worse, losing some trust or losing some respect?
Oh, honestly, I wouldn't say that one is more than the other, because they are hand in hand, right?
Yeah,
You can't, all in all, I would say respect, but in order to have respect, there's that level of trust in there, right? Um, there has to be respect.
yeah,
Absolutely. And so when respect is lost, or that starts to fade, then the other person isn't going to feel that they can trust to offer any communication or open up.
yeah. That's a tough one
Yeah.
because the respect is huge in terms of cementing the relationship. Because if you're with somebody, it was great in the beginning. Years
Yeah.
later go by, and their actions start eroding the respect for them.
Right.
And that could come from trust. Let's say they've done some things. That's not who I thought they were. Now I
Right.
respect them less. I trust them less, but I
Right.
respect them less. Maybe you can gain back some of that trust.
Mhm.
I don't know how you gain back the
The
respect.
respect.
I don't
Mhm.
know. I don't know if it's possible. Um,
I think it is. It all depends on the circumstances in the
yeah,
relationship, and what that looks like. And again, I come back to just reassurance from that, person who lost the trust from their spouse. Say, for example, the the husband did something, and he lost that trust and respect from his wife, and he's just made a choice. Hey, I'm so sorry. I'm going to do everything I can to make things better, and for you to respect me and our marriage and relationship again, and for you to trust me. And if what you need from me is a good deal of reassurance, and whatever that looks like, I'm willing to do that for you and for us. Right. So
mm,
that communication, and there just has to be a reassurance. We can't just assume, okay, I'm going to go ahead and trust you again, right? And there not be any real action being taken place, then you're not really building anything. You're kind of just going in blindly, and hoping that things are going to change. There needs to be an alignment of action, of the words and of the actions combined with consistency.
Yes.
Yes.
And my brain is just I'm looking at different scenarios, situations, life in
Yeah.
general,
Yes.
and I can think of a situation in my life at a point where trust was breached and there's, some remorse. However, there was never a continuing, you can trust me because it was just the
Right.
assumption that that was there.
Hmm.
And life would continue, but that doesn't
Yeah.
mean the trust came back. It
Right.
has to be, it's almost as if when the trust is breached, you took Roundup and sprayed it on the ground and the plants that were growing. Well, now nothing's growing.
Right.
What do you need to do? You need to rake the earth. You need to plant seeds. You need to continually water it, give it what it needs, sunlight, maybe some fertilizer, whatever it might
Love,
be.
love and
Love
care.
and
That's
continue
that.
to do that, not just think, well, okay, well, we're done. We move past that, and okay, everything's great. No, it needs to be. Well, back to the word. You're gonna need to be intentional.
Yes, absolutely. And being intentional, giving it some thought, right? Knowing, okay, what do I need to do here? Just like you said, fertilize it, water it, and keep at it, right? And give it that sun and that love and that care. You have to be present. There has to be care and there has to be consistency. You know, and all of that's being intentional, right? Um, and again, that reassurance. So for trust to continue on and what it looks like for it to grow, there needs to be that consistency, honesty, transparency, and emotional safety. All
Mm,
of that is combined into that emotional safety. And when people don't feel safe, they completely hold back. They're guarded. They're completely guarded. And what do you do when you're guarded? You're not offering, you're not opening up. You're not offering that intimacy, those four layers of intimacy. You're not offering emotional intimacy. You're not offering it mental or intellectual. You're closed off. So when there's no trust, you're not offering those levels of intimacy that we mentioned. And when you don't have that, the relationship eventually erodes. So
yeah.
what it looks like when it erodes is, of course, avoidance. Like I just said, you're closed off, you back off. Hey, I'm too hurt. So a lot of people are when they get hurt by one person and they kind of carry that on to another relationship. That's someone else's fault that they shouldn't be doing that, but they're so guarded that they're not opening up their hearts or allowing the other person in or allowing them to open up or so it's a very guarded relationship and that's not something that's going to grow. So when it grows in trust, it'll grow into that intimacy and growing in that trust is that honesty, transparency, and emotional safety. When it erodes, it's avoidance, inconsistency, and secrecy. And when I
Mm.
say secrecy, I don't mean like just keeping secrets. I mean kind of like the avoidant attachment style. So they're, for whatever reason, and most likely it's because of the trauma in the childhood past. They don't know how to emotionally open up. It takes some awareness and their own healing to help them to open up to that.
Well, time for a coach at that point,
Yeah,
and time to really, realize that you need to work through these things yourself, especially
yeah,
if you're in between relationships or one ended. You got to work on you. And I know it's a cliche. You got to figure you out before you can really do it right with somebody else.
right. Absolutely, you do. Because otherwise, you're just kind of going it in blindly and you're just going with the flow. You need to know who you are, what your values are, what your emotional needs are, like we talked about last week, in order for there to be any kind of connection with somebody else, right? How are you going to know if this person's right for you if you don't even know what's right for you?
Well, that's the key point there. And all you're going to do is, Tiffany, I'm here. Where do I put my bags down?
Right.
And by the way, I have more in the back. No, I don't.
Yeah.
I've worked through all of that, but that's what's going to happen, a lot of times. Um,
Absolutely.
how do we connect with you? What's the best way?
So the best way to connect is on my website. There are two ways, but on my website is Tiffany Aquino Coaching. So Tiffany Aquino, Aquino coaching.com or on Instagram at Tiff, Tiff Aquino Coaching.
This stuff so important. Dare I say, fundamental in relationships. And unfortunately, many of us think that we're doing it, but we're really not with
Absolutely.
intentionality. Yeah, we're communicating, but on a surface level, uh, go deep. Go
I agree.
deep.
I agree. Yes. I do want to offer out real fast and just
Sure.
kind of put a blurb out for our listeners that there is a wonderful book by Dr. John Gottman called The Seven Principles for Making Marriage Work that gives us all the tools for intimacy and trust.
Thank you for
Yeah.
that.
Yes,
Uh,
absolutely.
As always, I appreciate you, and we'll catch up again soon.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you,
Thanks.
Steve. Have a good day.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.